Oh. Oh, oh, oh. That's how it is. That's how it is. It's Monday. No. I need headphones. Just do. Oh, ho, ho. Yeah, no, my headache is gone. I don't even remember when that was. Be honest. Got a bit busy with other stuff, writing and whatnot. Hope you're doing good. Ready to make things worse again? Damn. Man. You haven't unworsened it yet? Goddamn. Last part's fixed for now? Yeah. Yeah. That's how I've been feeling recently. It's like things work until it comes back and bites me in the ass later. And it's been biting me in the ass now a lot. So we've got barrier. I don't know what's busted or not. They have a lot of things that are just broken right now. Self-casting barrier works. What about casting the spell on someone else? No, it doesn't work. Why? Well, it's probably just I updated some things in the Templar barrier, but not in the Beast barrier. So let's go compare them. Templar spell. Yeah, let's do priest spell down here. Alright. The description should be right below where everything, all the variables are set. Here. A Templar barrier has an area of effect. So does this one. I need to fix the implementation of the spells, so and the skills in general, so that they have all of the variables and stuff in the same order, because otherwise comparing them to find bugs and stuff is just a nightmare. We don't have a light animation here. Which is fine. We shouldn't actually have that, I think. That should be in the effect. Because the description should be able to access the information here, which includes like the hit data, AP cost, and heat, and all of this stuff, so that I can just write the description in a way that uses those values instead of being like hard written or whatever. In fact, the description should be something a bit different. I think it should be... It shouldn't even be like this necessarily. It should be a function that can be called so that the values can be adjusted. Like, let's say you have a buff on you that makes you stronger or something. Then I think it should say like, you know, does this much damage, parentheses, green number, to show that this is the new number, or like red number to show that it's lower. Something like that. I don't think dim stages is real either, but not sure. It could be. Actually, I think it should be. Why is that not? Time to remove some comments too. Holy shit. What's going on here? Somehow, we return to being on the Templar for both. Go back to the priest spell. Description, animation, dim stages. Gonna add those back. The one thing that like really worries me, and I'm trying to not let it cripple me, is the way the database is set up now. going to result in issues down the line. That worries me. But it's like, I feel like I can't know. Like, I should be able to know, but right now I just can't know. I just don't. And that might lead to some unpleasant times further down the line. But I think it should be robust enough to work just fine. It should. What the hell is this? I think this is trash. There's an error here, but it's not showing up. I love that. Oh. Yeah. This is some old thing. There. And yeah, it is time to clean out some comments. It's time. So I find this a little odd. Here I have a priest barrier. Yeah, no, okay, I get it. I don't really like it. But I think it is what it is. The spell system is a little convoluted, which worries me a bit. Because here, for example, what I'm doing here is I have two spells called Barrier, which is kind of the same spell, but it works differently. So the Templar version is faster, it's an instant cast, but it's only self-targeted. But it applies the same effect, but the effect is created via the spell. So here the barrier has like a behavior. And that barrier is played out, or that behavior is played out via the Templar barrier spell. Like that becomes an object. And that's a part that I kind of don't like. But sure. I feel like it's kind of going about it the wrong way to some degree. Because I feel like the barrier itself is an action, right? That's how this works. Everything is an action. Now that doesn't really mean anything, it's just a name. More or less, but it's basically like we create an object and then we plug in an action into that object and then it does something, right? And the way it works right now is that in order to cast the barrier, we have an action for the spell that contains an execute, like an execute spell. And so the character plays its casting animation, and then at a certain point in the casting animation, it will run execute spell. And then execute spell will invoke an effect. And that effect is like a container for more objects that are then assigned actions. And in the effect, the barrier, like the buff, is applied. So it's not like the spell itself that's actually applying the thing. It's summoning another object that has an action attached to it that then applies the effect to the target at a certain point in its animation. But the issue is, I feel like what's not good right now is that the barrier, if like the actual effect, the barrier that's being invoked right now, comes from the Templar spell. And it reads those stats, right? And I think that's not good. Because I feel like it's a bit difficult, because it's like, I feel like being able to invoke the barrier effect with different parameters would be good for reusing it. But the reality is, I don't think a lot of spells would be reused, right? Like, I don't even know if those would be necessarily reused and have the same animation. They might, but they might not. So it's a little bit like, not sure how to handle it. Maybe the Templar should just have its own barrier effect, and the priest should just have its own barrier effect, and then that's that. That would work. But I am thinking of like reusing assets here and there, like what would make sense. But I think maybe we'll rework it so that the spell is and spells are a little complicated to implement. I don't like it. But I also feel like it is what it is a bit, because every spell needs to count as like an object, which means it needs to have a data module, it needs to have a combat module, it needs to have like a bunch of things, and it needs to have like an animation module to like set that up, and it's like 5 places to set it up. Hello, Kib. How am I? I'm okay. Maybe a bit overworked, but fine. How are you doing? Good work getting that video out. Now you have 4 hours and 50 minutes left to sleep. As he said. Don't overdo it, he said at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. Oh. But yes, I wrote more for the Red Sun Dream. I'm not gonna post it before you go to bed, so you don't feel like reading it. But we do need to discuss it. Maybe not tomorrow, because there won't be any time, but... yeah. We'll have to talk over some parts of it. And decide where we want to go. I'm like 70% through, 80% almost, something. So... more or less. But yeah, I think we're going to make 2 separate effects here. One barrier for Templar and one barrier for Priest. I think it's just complicating things to have it try to use the same effect. Even though it's gonna be similar and maybe use the same logic. It'll just be easier to not do this shit. No cast time there. It's almost like cast time should be here equals 0 so that you can tell. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah. The cast time is tied to the AP cost right now. So, it might be a little bit overcomplicated, we'll see. Because I have something called aftercast delay, and that's something I added to be able to make spells faster, while still, like, maintaining power on them. So, after you finish casting, you're further delayed. But it might cause variable overload. Like, you don't want the spells to have like 40 icons on them. Like, yeah, it does this and this and this, and it has range, and it has this, and it has... but I'll keep it for now. We'll see. Because it would work just fine to just say, like, okay, more powerful spell means it takes longer to cast, means more AP costs. Like, that would work just fine too. Doesn't need to say has ended, it's being set in here. There you go. There, that's cleaned up a bit. So this is the Templar barrier, and the Templar barrier works. So let's now try to copy everything that should be copied over to the priest barrier. I think we've gone through most things here, right? See, the reason I kind of wanted to have an aftercast delay is for certain spells to be more expedient, but not be like, but still have like a way to balance them. Because a barrier, for example, that's a spell I feel should be quick so that you can react with it. But I don't want it to just be like, oh yeah, it costs 2 AP, and then that's just it. Like, oh, you can just use it again immediately. And the aftercast cooldown, because I feel like 4 AP is almost too much. Because most things are kind of faster than that, or around that ballpark in speed. So it should maybe be like a 2 AP cost or something, but have a more significant aftercast delay in order to avoid cooldowns. Because I think cooldowns are good, but I don't want everything to rely on cooldowns. I think that's not good. So when cooldowns make sense, I think they're good, but I don't think that should be the baseline for how things operate. Because cooldowns are a little different as well from like in an MMO, so it's not gonna have the same feel to it. But because it can often be like, let's say you put a cooldown on something and the cooldown is like 6 seconds. Depending on how it works, it's like before your next turn you can almost have the cooldown back. And I don't really like melee abilities having cooldowns too much. I think stuff like that is better focused around mechanics, like the stability system, for example, where it's more of a resource management thing. You have to build up and then spend. Like nowadays, people hate builders spenders, but it's a perfectly acceptable and fine system. I think people are just burnt on like Diablo 3 implementing it in like the worst way possible, where like doing anything other than your spender feels like you're literally just standing there, just like doing nothing. It just feels horrible. But otherwise, like builder spenders is a perfectly fine system. It works in World of Warcraft, and people don't really have an issue with it there, with rogues, for example, or because there it feels good instead. Like Sinister Strike hits really hard. It's like your main DPS thing, and then you get to use abilities based on your Sinister Striking, like combo points, right? And then it feels good instead. And that's where they do it wrong in Diablo 3, where your primaries are just fucking garbage, like total utter garbage. You can't even single target well with them or anything. Like they're just garbage. Whereas instead, they should have been like single target abilities, and your spenders should be AoEs, but still do more damage or like similar damage, so that it's still like worth using it on a boss. But the single targets should be like they should be strong. They should definitely not have less damage than your spender by like a significant amount. Like the spender should be maybe like 20% more powerful or something. I'm not sure. It really depends, because it's like a DPS thing. So if we're talking like in terms of DPS, then yeah, your spender should be maybe like 20% more powerful. Something. Which it kind of maybe boils down to. It's kind of difficult, but they definitely did not do it right in Diablo 3. Especially not post-patches, but I never talk about it when it comes to like how set items work and shit, because that's just retarded. Diablo 3 is a really good game otherwise. In a lot of ways. Not so much in other ways, but they had a really, really strong core when it came to gameplay. Gameplay loop. It's honestly still one of the best ARPGs. At some level. Not at all levels. Right, so we've got the priest spell down here. And here, for example, the Templar barrier can have a higher AP cost because it's like a reactive thing. You can use it instantly, and it's really powerful. But that could come at the cost of it being like ending up kind of slower in a way. No aftercast delay. And the tricky part about barriers or summons and stuff is balancing them, because like let's say you put up a barrier, what happens when the barrier breaks? Oh, you just put it up again, like, you know. So there has to be like some kind of mechanic to avoid that, which would be like it gets put on cooldown when it breaks or something like that. In WoW they use the weakened soul thing, where it's kind of the barrier is kind of I guess logically or in terms of lore, it's like the barrier is like formed from your soul. Sound kind of retarded, but you know, whatever. Makes sense. Your soul regenerates, it's fine. Just takes 30 seconds. And even if you put it on cooldown, it could still have issues where it's stuff like Rhea puts up a barrier, and then when it breaks, you just rotate that with the barrier from Aya, and then she's just like immortal. You know, that could be it could be a nice way for it to work. You know, that could be like a legit strategy, and it could be fine. It could also break the game. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Balance is fucking hard. And people who say that balance doesn't matter in single player games do not know what they're talking about. Absolutely the most silly thing ever. Balance completely make or break single player games. Barrier. Ooh. Good night, cubes. Target team ally. This doesn't work, by the way. Target team, it doesn't do anything right now. I have even implemented mechanics for it, but it doesn't work. I don't know why. It hasn't been very important to look into. His spell, use casting animation, true. Interruptible, true. Is instant spell, true. And this is one of those things where normally it says, like, if it's not there, then it's set to the false by default, but it's just more visible and readable if you have the false there, especially when you're trying to compare spells or look at it. I don't know. Action length, dim stages, effect funk. Ooh. I'll be right back. Yeah. You know you're normal when you're thinking about what should I buy for Friday, and you're thinking of buying liver pate and a loaf of bread as your Friday snack. Oh, I shouldn't do that. But I can always comfort myself that I'm not taking a head of lettuce to the cinema weird. So I feel it's fine. Don't worry about it. Feel normal. Oh, okay. I'm a little unfocused today, I will admit. So let's see what we can do here. Maybe I need some different kind of music. I only have like 3 playlists I use. Neat old games doot doot 2. That's the one with our loading. I don't know. Is it? Fighting games is too much. Let's do this. Right down there. I honestly wouldn't even really play music on stream because I think it's kind of like it forces people to listen to it. But if you don't, people complain like immediately. Every single time. I'm like, just put on something yourself, bro. No, no, no. Priest barrier. We're trying to set up the priest barrier here. Okay. Is everything in order now? Dim action length. Yeah. Dim stages, effect funk list. Audio clip. Execution triggers. Holy shit. Making video games is so fucking complicated. Base execute spell. Stored source object equals base object. Okay. Targeted objects equals base object dot target list dot to list. Yes. And this should be stored source effect. Which might need to be cleared, by the way. In not necessarily, but because we're not really doing new, like we're not newing the spell. So anything it stores should be like end behavior. Where the fuck is action module? No, combat action. Here. End behavior. Stored source effect. Yeah, sure. Stored base object equals null. Stored source object equals null. Something like that. We are acquiring and handling the objects a bit differently. Because here we are fetching in the Templar, it's a self-target, so we don't need to do anything. Here, it's a target with a cast time, so we need to recheck the target to see if it's valid. And that also needs to have multiple functions. Rechecking a target might need to have like either it fizzles or it goes off anyway, but it targets something else because something else walked in the way. And then there's a question of how to visualize that too. I'd probably bring both, like the unit you had targeted and the unit that gets hit instead, into the combat sequence, and then shoot it and hit the new target. Probably. Stored source effect. We're now invoking the same manner here. We're fetching the one target because we only have one target. Start effect, active effect list, add stored source effect. All right. And there it ends. But we now want to re-add all of this stuff here, I think. So that we can use this barrier. Now the difficulty and one of the reasons why I did it the way I did before is so that because it's a barrier, right? And I think you should only be able to have one barrier on you at a time. At least I think so. But maybe not. I don't know. But that means that before I could just check if the object attached was the barrier, right? Because it was just barrier. But now I don't know, I might already be doing that. But what I need to do now is I need to have like a special variable for what it is. That's probably gonna be an enum. It's like a, I don't know if I should call it status effect. Maybe status effect is right, because it is like a barrier is a health pool, right, that you get. So that is kind of a status effect. So it might be like, yeah, if you have this is like this spell counts as barrier, because what if another spell from like another character or another faction type also is a barrier and works similarly, but we also don't want those to overlap. So then those would also have to replace each other. And then I'd have to go through the effects or maybe have like a barrier applied or something Boolean. I don't really like that though. But I might go through all of the effects applied to a character and then check. And then replace it. If it's, I don't know. I don't know when it should be replaced. Like when it's more powerful or it's got more duration or something, like I'm not sure. That's another question as well. For now, I think I'm just gonna replace it, and then we add some variables to that later. Because that's what it's doing right now, really. But that's gonna be stored in the effect. That's gonna be a physical barrier, which might be confusing because normally speaking, if something says physical, that means it doesn't apply to magical, but for us, I think the idea is that magic is physical. Like it's matter, like it exists. That's what physical means in this scenario. Then there might be like spiritual barriers. That might not overlap, or that might not replace the normal barrier. We'll see. And this should all be fine, I think. Here we just apply barrier there. And what we need to do now then is update this here, because right now we are spawning the barrier effect. So we now need to split that into two. This barrier here combat spells. I kind of don't like this. I think the effects should also be separated out into public static class Astria. Public static class Templar. Public static class Priest. Now, this is, like, I've already seen some random people complain about this when I've asked for some advice, but I don't really see what the problem is with structuring like this with, like, class nesting for the database. I just feel like it's a way to categorize things. I don't see what the problem is. I don't really know what way might be better to do it. The difficulty here really is gonna be that I might want to load things in, but I don't know if I want to do that either. Like, do I? Do I really want to bother putting, like, spell variables into JSON? Like, is it really necessary? I don't know, man. What am I doing? Barrier. Here we have this barrier here, which is the Templar spell. Cyrus Gaze, which is Templar spell. Gravity Blast, which is a Templar spell. Lightning Strike, which is a Templar spell. The reality is that most spells here are Templar spells, because they are just the combat. They're a combat-focused order, while the priests are a bit more varied, but there's a lot of overlap. So a lot of these Templar spells are also priest spells. Kind of like... I guess it's not like that strict necessarily. Oh, Jing, how's it going? So right now we just have Suture here, which is also a work in progress spell. Suture is revolving around... I want to try making this game revolve around like bleeding damage, kind of, in a way, because we don't want to have healing in the traditional sense. So I want to try having like managing built up bleeding and staunching wounds to be a bit more of a factor. Like that's kind of the healing aspect of the game, where it's about like damage prevention more than it is about damage recovery. Making spell lists? Kind of. I'm working on implementing spells and character abilities, but what that means is that I have to stop doing that like every single time, because there's like a mechanic I need to fix or implement. Like that's kind of why I'm doing it, so that I can go through all of the basic functions and ideas that we want to implement and get through that, so I can implement the functions for those things, so that we can actually like test the ideas and the spells and stuff. Ailments and cures, with bleed being the core ailment. Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know how Kibbs will really feel about this, because I've talked to him about it, but it's one of those things it's hard to really have a grasp for it before it's like in front of you and you try it a bit. But yeah, I wanted to try making like getting struck by a sword or something more or less like always supply bleeds to you, where some attacks might cause you to bleed more, but it's like this idea that while you take direct trauma, you also build up a like bleeding, and that's something that might need to be managed by you. And then I want to implement ways to deal with that, like having a way to bandage yourself, or even just like hitting end turn without acting or something like that might allow you to staunch the bleeding, or you might have spells that do it a bit. Stuff like that. So that's an idea at least, but we'll see how it plays out. Because in lore, healing magic is meant to be like not really that much of a thing. Like it exists, but it's more of like a hospital kind of thing. Like it helps staunch bleeding, it helps fight off poisons, and it helps you heal, but much less in like a direct way. It's more like it's aiding the body's natural healing process, so it speeds it up, but it's not like, you know, you now have full health, that kind of healing. That's the idea, at least. Oh, my brain. I worked literally all day yesterday, so I'm a little... Okay, so we've moved all of these effects over there. So now we need to change how this works. So this is now spells Astria priest dot suture, Astria dot Templar barrier, spells Astria dot Templar gravity blast. And oh yeah. Are you hard coding spells to character types? More or less. Like not exactly, but like Astria have their own spells. So that means that characters that come from an Astrian background might share some spells. And we haven't exactly decided yet on how like abilities and actions and spells and stuff should work in terms of like what you have access to at all times. Because there are a lot of things to weigh there in regards of how to make it a game and how to avoid like having like ability overload and like having like shitloads of lists with things you can do, right? Like you can go with like a Guild Wars approach where you have a limited set of abilities that you can customize, or you can just have like all abilities or all spells available to all the characters that can use spells. And like both are okay, but it can become kind of cluttered and weird if, you know. Like one makes less sense logically and one makes more sense practically, right? So yeah, Astrian characters have like a pool of spells and effects that exist within their culture, right? So Rhea will have unique attacks. Like when it comes to attacks, melee attacks especially, the characters will have their own unique things. Because we can't just say like heavy attack and then two characters have heavy attack, because they both need to have new animations anyway, so we're gonna just give them unique unique abilities in that sense of how their approach to fighting is supposed to work and like what kind of archetype that character is going to be. And this kind of also ties into spells, where Rhea is a Templar, which means that she has had Templar training in terms of spellcasting and fighting, while Aya has had a priest upbringing, I think, which shifts the way that she has also been raised and trained, which means that their approach to what kind of spells they use might be different. But there's a lot of crossover between the priests and the Templars as well, so they might share some spells. But like Astrian characters wouldn't cast spells from the Nephiric culture, for example. Like that wouldn't be a thing. Generally speaking, in the lore, like I don't know how much I should say, but it's kind of like that. And I don't know if I'm misrepresenting anything, because well, I do understand most of the setting. I don't know if I misremember anything exactly, but it's kind of like that. So that's why I'm sorting them by Astria and stuff like that. If your spells were instance classes instead of statics, could you just make an instance spell template class and give it data depending on the spell? That way, no need to duplicate the spell fields and methods like you have to with the statics. They just exist once in the instance class. Potentially, yeah. But well, they are actually instanced. So if we look at the action database, the barrier here is static, but that's just a container. The spell is actually the spell itself. So that's what gets instantiated. Well, I don't know. Fuck. I'll be right back. There we go. Okay. Package arrived. I don't know why I turned off the music, but I did. Something like instantiate the spell class, give it the data from a file. And that's it. It means you don't have to write more code every spell, it's just the same reused spell class. I think honestly the main thing is that the spell behavior exists in here, right? Like that's really the main concept here. That I can put like when the actual damage happens and stuff in the same place or in different places here in the behavior override. And I could probably still do something like that, but I mean it is honestly like it does inherit from combat action already, so there are like a lot of things in there that is already cutting it down to size. Like you see, I like it. There's a lot of stuff here in the initialize and behavior. It's got a lot of stuff in it. So I think I am kind of doing that already. Eliminating all of the statics, something like spell container as an instance. Constructor takes an ID in the spell instance. I mean, I could just remove this. But I guess the static, the reason I have all these statics, I guess, is more for just, or at least the idea was for just categorization. Oh no, don't worry about it. It's all good. Just to make it like, cause I'm just thinking of like how it's gonna look once I have like a bunch of monster abilities and like other factions, enemies have a bunch of spells and stuff. And I just wanted to make sure that I could compartmentalize that so that it wouldn't just become like a huge cluttered list. So we can just do stuff like this and then it becomes more manageable. And finding like the right thing might be a lot easier. That was the main reason I did this. And then this here, this is like for saving and stuff, I think. But I don't know. I don't know. I hope dealing with saving and stuff is not gonna make me want to blow my brains out later. Because even with this, like every spell and every effect and every whatever, it all needs to be indexed in some manner, so I can just save it as an integer. But yeah, because otherwise, I feel like the only real concern is and I honestly don't even like thinking about it, because I don't really want to care about it. That's like modability, or do I want to have everything in externals so that you can access like a JSON more easily and change variables and stuff? It's a little bit like, I don't know, man. Do I care? And on top of that, C# is so easy to mod anyway, so it's kind of like, is it worth the effort when it works anyway? You can just inject new numbers into this shit and it just goes it'll just work. Yeah, like I'm not really, I don't really like modding very much. I think it's a good thing to have depending on your game type, but it's this thing where I'm like, let's say you go back in time and you're working on like Baldur's Gate 2. Like modding isn't even remotely considered there. Like it's not a game for modding. Same thing with like Final Fantasy or something. Like it just isn't a modding game. Like it's not the point of the game. But at the same time, people mod them anyway. So it's like if I can put some effort into making it doable, then I might maybe ask Gibbs. Oh, we've talked about it, and we're mostly on the same page. Like I it's not something that I would ever really try to work against. Like I'm not against modding, but I don't want to sit and like try to build the entire system for modding, right? Because that's a completely different like approach to the entire project and to programming in general. And I think that complicates things a lot. And I don't think that there's any real reason for it. But there are easy things you can do, like you can just expose data like character variables and names and sprites in a way where you can just like replace them or edit them if you want to change something. And that takes like very, very little effort. And that's definitely something I can do, and I think I will do. But like, it's not gonna be like a Skyrim mod menu kind of thing. That's just not a thing. That's not gonna happen. But if we were to make like some other kind of game at some point, like strategy game or something, there I think that there I would definitely put an effort into doing that, so you can import new things and stuff like that very easily. Because there it makes a lot more sense than a story-driven game, right? Like it's dialogue. It's a dialogue-driven story game. So like modding doesn't really make that much sense. So. But it's worth considering and thinking about. I've got these effects here. Here we have a Templar barrier that we're now gonna copy. Which I'm not a huge fan of, but we're gonna do that. Put it in here. So now we have a priest barrier, and we have to change just a few things there then. Target object. It's all good. Database keys.effects.barrier. I really don't like this approach either. I'm not adding everything to an enum like this, but I think there are sometimes some things that feel like a dogshit implementation that's just kind of inevitable. Like, unfortunately, it has to be like this trash implementation. And you just have to deal with it. Kind of. Core data. Barrier front. See, this is what I kind of don't like. don't. Because here I have a database, right? And this is my object database. This is where I store everything in order to create a character or an object. So here we have Ria. And then I have to set up Ria here so that I can fetch a core data, which contains her data module, her animation module, her behavior module, and her combat module, all in one go. But kind of annoying because it means I have to create them as well. Like that is a bit of an annoying thing. And then that means that like the barrier and Cyrus Gaze, like all of these effects all have their own object in the database where we're fetching like the data module, the action module, behavior module, combat module for the spell effect. And I think it's kind of too much to some degree. And I've been kind of wondering if doing this somewhere else might be better. But I'm not sure. Because for example, the barrier here, the barrier front, that's only created by the barrier effect. Really. So this could kind of be stripped out from here. And it could be kind of hard-coded in the effect that it's just gonna load this and this and this for the barrier from this and that point, or from this and that database, instead of having it all like this, because I do feel like this might get a bit cluttered. Because this is a question of saving and loading, really. That's what this is about. Because what I'm gonna need to do is I'm gonna have to store and load whatever is currently active, right? And potentially their states to some degree. And that means that if there is a spell effect that's static, like a barrier is applied to a character, for example, I might want to just store that object and then store its current state. And then when I load, I need to be able to load that specific object again. And that's why I have this object database, so that I can do that. but all of these might not be something that needs to be loaded. So I'm a little bit unsure. Because if I store the if I store the barrier and all of its components, like I store its animation module and data module and all of this inside of the effect itself, I feel like that's going to be a lot harder to load later. But I might need to do it anyway. Because it's gonna need to be like... It needs to load in a certain state. Like I can't just load effect index 4, which is barrier, and then just put it in. It needs to have like a state which could be like stages, kind of like, yeah, the barrier is currently in stage 4, and that means that when we load it, it just gets set to stage 4, and then it has like profile for stage 4 that sets all of the variables to what that should be, right? Saving and loading is a pain in the ass, by the way. At least doing it in an efficient manner. Because it's you can do it in multiple ways. The classic way is to index everything and then save that and then load based on like a few parameters, like as few as possible. Or you can do what they're doing in like Pathfinder, which is they literally dump the current state of Unity into a massive string into a text document, and then they just load it again, and then your save file ends up being 500 megabytes in size, which is not ideal. Or the current Unity scene is dumped, like everything. I actually don't know how they do that. I didn't even know you could do that. Every object just prints its metadata to a file, and then you just load it. Literally the single worst save system you can possibly use, but it's very easy to implement. Because it does save everything, like character rotation, like to the decimal and everything. I failed. I bought a bunch of nuts. Shouldn't have done that. It's bad. I bought some nuts for my dad for Father's Day. And then I bought one for myself. I kind of wonder if maybe this could have been done in an easier manner. It depends a bit. Because I don't think you can... I don't think you can kind of like downgrade or upgrade or modify and change a class into a child class. Like, let's say you have a spell called Fireball, and it inherits from the base class spell, right? That means you can put it into a list of spells. That's... I don't know what that's called. I know what it is, but I can't find the correct word right now. Not metamorphosis, called something like that. But I don't think you can turn, like, the Fireball into a spell. Like a base spell. Polymorphism, yeah, that's exactly it. I don't think you can turn a spell into a Fireball, and I don't think you can turn a Fireball into a spell. It's like you instantiate a Fireball, and then that's just a Fireball, and it inherits from spell, right? But you can't, like, demote it back down to a spell. I don't know if that is true or not. But the reason I even mentioned that is because it depends on how you want to handle things. Because if everything is just the base spell, right? That allows you to utilize object pooling. And object pooling could... It could minimize garbage collection a lot, and it could minimize like instantiation issues when it comes to performance and stuttering and chugging and stuff. Because then you can just take an available object from a pool that's free, and then you convert it into what you want it to be by attaching like modules to it. You attach the whatever action module, behavior module, animation module that you want it to have, and that's what I'm doing now. That way you can convert any object into any object. But it does create like an issue of actually fetching those components from somewhere and plugging them in, and that's what's creating this whole section here, which is a huge list of just every object and all of their components, which is fine. Like, it honestly is fine. I don't know why I'm stuck on this. It's because I don't like that, like for the barrier, a barrier needs to have multiple components. It needs to have a front, it needs to have a back, it might need to have more than that. And I feel like it just becomes kind of cluttered and difficult to implement new things. Well, if it was just like, this is the barrier object, then that's all you need to have. You just store the barrier in the list, and then you just fetch the barrier, and you just, this is the barrier. This is how it works. But then you have to instantiate it. Like, every time you need a barrier, it has to be fully instantiated from the ground up, which includes every single thing that it can have. which isn't necessarily an issue. It depends on the game, but could you use interfaces? Because I know you can cast, like, I don't know if you can cast, like, let's say you have a fireball that inherits from spell. I don't know if you can cast, like, a base spell into a fireball. Maybe you can, but I know you can cast the fireball to a spell. But that requires casting, right? Like specific, explicit casting. And what would be nice is if you can take, like, you have like a pool of spell objects, and then you, in some manner, you're like, this spell is now a fireball that inherits from spell instead, but it's still the same object. It's just, we're kind of just updating it so it now has overrides and stuff. And I don't think you can do that. I don't know. Let's ask ChatGPT. Yeah. Don't quote me. I don't think you can. I don't. No. ChatGPT says no. I need to go to the bathroom again. Alright, let's switch chairs. Maybe it's stacking time. But Chair gel cushion? Did you buy? Which one? There aren't that many, I probably know. I always sit lean back so much. Like, I don't like sitting up straight very much. So I've had a tough time finding something. And that's also why my tailbone hurts, because I'm literally just sitting straight on it. All the time. No, that's perfect. Yeah, maybe I should try one of those. I'll let you try it first. Let me know how it goes. Because yeah, not, like having something would be good. At least something where it can sit in a horrible position and it still works, right? Because yeah, I like sitting lean back. I do not like sitting straight. Ten out of 10. Oh, that's a high score. Currently unavailable. Oh, it's like super cheap. Higher at the front than at the back. Yeah, I think that can be good. It pushes your legs up a little bit. Because I've kind of like, I have one of these. I have one of these, you know, it's just a wedge. This is fucking terrible. This is horrible. And this one is super expensive too. Like, says $70 or something. It's really, really bad. And like flipping this one around, so you have it this way instead with the thick end, it kind of helps, because it like makes you, because your legs get pushed up a bit, it kind of, that in and of itself takes a little bit of pressure off, but it also puts more pressure on your legs. Oh. All right. Let's start trying to focus on what to do instead of, oh no, what might go wrong later. So we're implementing a new version of the spell here now. And then that means that does the getter have to look like that? You really need the brackets on the getter? Sucks. Let's try to clean this up a bit, because I don't like the way it is. This, though, that also needs it. Here, this is the same. Always. So this barrier here, Bell's barrier. Here too, I feel like this should be public static class, Terrestria, public static class, Templar, public static class. I just don't like this. And this here, it's also a bit of an issue, I think. Kind of, maybe. I don't know. Because here I'm loading, or I'm storing the static data for each object in a static here. But I feel like that could probably be loaded. I don't know if you can do that. Like assigning a static as like some kind of JSON load operation. Maybe you can. Or, because you can make the static be like an invoke that loads and returns data from disk, right? Like that's doable, I think. But what I mean is like assigning it like this, just new this, but instead it says like equals JSON dot load this and that from there. It could work. I'm not sure if it does. But that would also mean that when the game launches, every single thing has to be loaded. Which works for this game. I think that would be fine. But... is that really how it should work? I don't know. This is a bit overwhelming. Normally your serializer will assign things through a constructor when it loads your data. Never tried for a static class, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, it technically doesn't need to be static either, does it? Like, there's no real difference between me setting this value as in an instantiated class somewhere that you can access, and it being a static that's like always instantiated, because that's what a static is. We just gotta keep going. Then I need to have a fucking checklist, like unironically. Spell implementation checklist. Make action in action database. Make action module in action module database. Let's make animation in animation database. Make object data module in object data module database. Make make object in object database. Make effect in effect database. Something like that. That's a lot of steps. It's a lot of things to implement, dude. Have the animation. Actually, we don't. Affects spells. We have to do the same thing here. Spells. Public. Static. Class. Astria. Public. Static. Class. Templar. Public. Static. Class. Priest. Barrier goes in priest, and it goes in Lar. I need a snack. I need a snack on something. Unfortunately, I think today is gonna be a little bit slow. I've been going hard for a few days. Salty. Not bad. Cottage cheese with cinnamon. Actually pretty good. We've got 2 barriers. Now we have to fix the this Terrestria, Templar. Here we have keys. The reason I have a key there is so that it can be updated later without having to like reorganize 7,000 things. So here, barrier, Templar, barrier. Well, actually, let's rename these to barrier, Templar front, barrier, Templar back. Hello, Jenna. How's it going? Oh. This is pretty potent. And no sugar. Yummy. Cottage cheese with some cinnamon. Almost like eating, well, we call it Santa porridge, but rice porridge. Or maybe not Santa, it's more like gnome porridge if you want to translate it correctly. But we call Santa a gnome, so. Santa is a gnome? Santa is a gnome, yeah. We use the same word for him as for gnomes. Tomte. That basically means Tomt. How do you translate that? A plot. Yeah, it's like it's a plot of land. So it's like a plotty or something like that. That's what we call a gnome. And that's what Santa is called. He's called the plotty. Tomten. Kind of. It's a really shitty translation, but it's a gnome. The gnome is coming to give presents to all the children. No, we're just fixing broken things here. No, yeah, like today's stream is gonna be fucked. I was up to 3 a.m. writing yesterday, so it is what it is. What the fuck is this? There are too many brackets here somewhere. I don't know where. No, my sleep is normal. I actually usually go to bed around 2, 3. That's when I go to bed. But I was working until then. But Kibbs could use a Tard Wrangler for sure. Like... No doubt. No doubt. No doubt. That's how he works. It's like once he finally gets keyed in and focused, he stays that way. It doesn't matter what the clock is. For good end, it's good to be able to hyper focus and hammer things out, but it does come at a cost the day after, right? I think he's gonna be tired today. Rapier has never slept properly for like his entire life, so I don't know what to say. He's like, I need some sleeping pills. Yeah, Robert's been worrying about his computer a lot. And his neighbors keep smoking and shit. Poor guy. At least the wasps might be gone now. Because it's getting cold. He had a wasp nest outside as well. I don't like having to format all this stuff manually. It's horrible. Is there a way to like just format everything to one line or something? Let's ask ChatGPT. Dude, I have been leaning in hard on ChatGPT Googling. Is there a way to format a selection into one line in Visual Studio? Yes. ReSharper command line tools, but doesn't ReSharper cost money? Costs like $7 billion. Yeah, it's insane. $400. No, what is that? That's in pound. No, that's in euros. Okay, so yeah, it's 400 euros per year. Individual is less, so that's only 150 euros per year for ReSharper. Like, fuck you. No way, man. Paying that to be able to join like a few lines. ChatGPT says to use Visual Studio Essentials. Any extension recommendations? There's nothing called Essentials. Visual Studio Dev Essentials. Is that the one? Some products don't includes or VS. Okay. 3 reviews. Tools, options, environment, keyboard, Visual C#, join, edit join lines. LJ. So it is ChatGPT is lying. LJ. Wait, huh? Shift Alt. LJ. Oh, it works. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have to admit, as a way to Google and actually get decent workable information for like basic troubleshooting tasks, ChatGPT is fucking really good. Like genuinely really good. When it doesn't lie, right? When it doesn't lie, like it just did. I'll be honest. Having a cable for your headphones is like the absolute worst thing when you're programming. It's so annoying. That thing is in the way the whole time. You want to move your hand between the mouse and the keyboard? It's just always in the way. Constantly. Can't quite relate. My cable constantly gets under the wheels of my chair, but I have visceral hate for wireless stuff. Yeah, it is like every time I go to bed, I put the headphones in charging, but I've been using these so much now. Like, it's actually so useful. Especially since I got my TV like right here on my table in front of my couch. And that's where I spend the evenings, not in my computer chair. That means I can just bring them over there and I can have the window open like at 2 a.m. and It's just fine. No cables to worry about or anything. And honestly, they're better than my normal headphones. The normal ones are actually kind of ass. Which is funny because I bought them on recommendation from like audiophiles. Because I was like, all right, so you don't want to buy a pair of gaming headphones? What do you want to buy then? So I went around and I like looked at like what kind of studio headphones people recommend, and this was the ones I have were quite warmly recommended, and they kind of suck. Like they're not really that good. Every single gaming headphone I've had have been better, honestly. They're actually probably one of the worst headphones I've ever had. And I've had them for like 10 years now. At least they're sturdy. Ah. Are we done? No. It's a bit annoying because I do need to get this done. The current issue needs to be fixed so that it functions. And some of these can even be joined even further. Like, as long as it fits on the screen, I'm fine with it. Should probably have done that. I don't know about this one. Not this one. I don't like this. I really don't. Because this here, right? Fetching core data is the same always. So I don't know how to do it otherwise. I feel like it's gotta be there. All right. Templar. There. And this doesn't work anymore. We can't... This is a dictionary. So this will have to be changed. Attached effect list. This is gonna have to be like a type. So this is kind of like slots or something. Like you have a... I don't know. There's supposed to be an error here. Hello. There. Oh, there. All right. 0 errors. Make animation. I think we've done that. Make action. The action exists. Make action module. Not so sure. Not so sure. We have a priest barrier. We do. Right? So that exists. Oh, it needs to be updated here. Like such. Next, object data module. We have this shit. Priest barrier. Does it say Templar anywhere here? I don't think so, no. No. Next, object in object database. We did that, right? Got the priest barrier. And then got the priest in the effect list there. Make effect. I actually think we don't have that. We have a... Oh, we do have a priest barrier here. All right. Oh, and then we need to go to action module database. We have to go to Aya. And Aya now needs to have No, it's not set here. It's in combat, maybe. Here. Aya now needs to have priest barrier. Okay, she does. Okay. The spell doesn't cast, still. Not entirely unexpected, but also... I don't really know why. I don't really know why. Oh. Alright. That's enough standing. Let's go to back down. We need to figure out where in the casting sequence it's breaking. Let's try casting another spell. See if it's the barrier or if it is another, like just spell casting that is broken. Oh, it's difficult to troubleshoot because it's really hard to breakpoint it, I feel like. Because it's just like somewhere in between the start of the cast and the end of the cast, it's just not happening. And how do you breakpoint that? At that point, you already know where it's happening almost. This is like a print thing, rather. Printing order of operations. Or just staring at it. It could be the recheck that's failing. And we're like, okay, we don't have a target anymore. Because I think the AoE spells still work. It does, but it's actually broken. Strangely enough. Why is it just some bullshit? Okay, it spawns immediately. And the effect isn't part of anything. This might be part of my rework on the effects. I need to change some things here. I feel like something's happening in here. With some of this. That might be it. Something like that. Let's see what happens. Nope. We have a similar issue as to yesterday. Luckily, I think we have all the breakpoints set up from yesterday as well. It's, for whatever reason, the spell starts casting instantly, and then like everything gets deleted because we get shoved into end turn. Yeah. Well, no, this makes sense, right? That's end turn. End turn. Casting. Combat sequence objects dot clear. And then we add Ria. And then here we now don't have anything in here. Yeah, how did we come there? What just happened, man? I have every single instance of clearing and removing things from both of these lists. Breakpointed, and it still just gets removed from the list. Okay, now we're in here, right? We're adding Rhea. We're entering execution phase. Action initialization. And now where is this? Because we have an object here. But I don't understand. Why exit phase would be true here. Hmm? Because I haven't really changed anything here, and see here is idle. That's what's happening there. I need to do some bullshit here, like, 'cause this isn't good. Because we have a finalize cast. Spellcasting finish. And here current action dot loop equals false. But then I also want to say is idle equals false. Such a weird bug because I don't feel like I really changed anything to make it do what it's doing. And it's already acting strange, but it's acting less strange. But it's immediately activating the spell, which isn't correct. Effect, let's see. Start effect. So here it says execute spell, right? And it says start effect here immediately. But I think that should be okay. I think what's weird is the point in which the spell is cast in the animation. Which I also haven't changed, and for whatever reason, that's different now. So... Astria, no. Ria. Casting. And then here we have execute spell. If not loop and current animation index equals 1 and action time index is greater than animation length 1. And execute spell happens when it's supposed to happen when the animation plays. So maybe it needs a startup delay simply. No. I don't know. I think maybe we'll stop there. I'm getting kind of zonked out. It's some bullshit. It has to do, the play effect is a little overcomplicated, so what's happening is it has something to do with I'm trying to make the play effect handle every scenario, where some spells might have like a delayed startup, some effects might have a static end time, some effects might just play until they end and then they need to end. And I'm trying to make it just handle these scenarios, and I'm just running into some random snags here and there where it's just not doing that, and it's ending things prematurely, it's starting things prematurely, it's just doing some bullshit. But I don't think it's a big deal. It's just really annoying to find. And I think it's all in here. Let's write something. LOT effect play effect is most likely starting effects prematurely. Now, as we set the effects to now be disabled by default, yet they are enabled immediately by the spell, which also enables all of the child objects via start effect. That should be understandable. So what I need to do is, I guess I just need to, instead of doing start effect, I don't know. I think I just need to move it out of start effect and then just say like enable object or something. But I also don't know if it's actually viable to do it via here, because I'm just thinking in terms of like, the effect is supposed to be a way to manage effect objects and like spawn them and move them and manage the entire behavior of the effect. So that means that if I just make like one generic play effect, which can be overridden by the way, so it's not that big of a deal, I can just override it. But if I just use the generic one, that means that like if I have a spell that's supposed to like spawn lightning strikes around in an area or something, that might be kind of weird. Because then in order for them to be spawned in like with the correct timings, I'd have to just like make the animations be like delayed or some bullshit, and again that's where the effect should have more complex functionality. So I might have to break this stuff out a little bit, I'm not sure, or simply just not do this in the base and just actually copy this and like I was doing before. We'll see. It does shit up the effect when I do that, but I do think that a lot of these things could be changed into functions that I can use to make it look less cluttered, so. But yeah. I'm gonna go and try to do some more writing. So, until next time, thanks for hanging. Have a good day. Bye-bye.